This is Have You Met? My guest today is a free spirit, an explorer, and a visionary filmmaker. He's lived an extraordinary life. He's run with the bulls, spent time in a favela in Brazil, and more recently worked as a porter for tourists in the Himalayas in Nepal. He wanted to make a documentary about the challenges he would face as a porter, and he did. But the final product ended up changing his life when he realised the true story wasn't his adventure. It was the harrowing conditions that the porters have to work in, and the low pay that they do it for. Have you met Nate Menninger? So, Nate, tell me a bit about what your life was like before you recorded The Porter.
Well, first off, I gotta say that stash is wild. For the camera, now that we're officially recording, I would be like, damn. I remember I watched one of your videos and I was like, watched some of it and I was like, when I do this, I'm going to comment on his mustache. Like, how are these people not commenting? So that's why it's wild, dude. It's incredible.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. You know, it takes a lot of work, time, dedication. It's potentially my proudest achievement. So thank you very much.
I mean, it's a compliment. It's also like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean,
you better back that up. If you don't back that up.
I mean, everybody takes it differently. You know, I like to inspire either laughter, jealousy, or just a smile. You know, anything. You know. You're laughing at me, that's fine. I'm making the world a happier place. So, you know, find it funny all you want.
I feel like your voice is different than your mustache. Like, you know, voice is so comforting and your mustache is you know, pretty legit.
Yeah, you don't know how to handle it. Yeah, I know. It's a
good combo.
Puts people off guard a little bit.
Yeah, which is good.
Thank you very much.
I grew up pretty, you know, in a kind of a wealthy, affluent neighborhood. You kind of have to use the word affluent because that's type of neighborhood. And then played sports, was really dedicated to sports. You know, sports in America are like, you know, you can make it so much money. So
yeah,
for a young guy, it's like, get out of college and you can be making minimum $400K if you succeed at making the pro level of this sport. Like, that's a focus. That's a hyper focus. And I hyper focused on athletics, and maybe I didn't train as much as I should have, or maybe I wasn't as good as I should have. But I got a ton of injuries in college, and my mindset is one of risk taking a little bit. I mean, I'm not like wingsuiting, but types of risks and like blind self confidence, So when I started getting injured, it was almost like the more surgeries I get, the better my story will be when I go pro. I'll be like the pro with this many surgeries. That's the type of way my mind worked, which is just self-destructive. Also productive if you're going the right direction. But so I got a lot of surgeries, probably not for reasons I needed, maybe, but I don't know, probably. And,
how many did you get?
It was just... people have had a lot more surgeries, but for athletics in those 2 years, it was 4 operations and the fourth one was a double. And so obviously people had more, but these were hips and groin and like pretty big operations. And I didn't have like a defect or I didn't have like a problem. Not defect is a bad word, but like a health problem. This was just from sports and my anatomy, which is a lot from just sports and stuff. In such a short time. And so it left me like pretty much with different anatomy because some parts of bones were taken out and unable to compete. A different athlete all over, like not really as athletic as I was. And so when graduation came around, I never looked for a normal job because in lacrosse, which is what I played, my idea was to go from lacrosse to football because that's where the money is in America.
Yeah.
Everyone does finance and I didn't want to do finance. You know, sports was everything. I studied like Spanish and philosophy because I was pretty much fluent in Spanish when I got to university, and philosophy because I mean, the funny answer is you can read a paragraph of a 100-page writing and you can write the paper, you know, like I wasn't that much of a bad student, but I like to think about things, but yeah, sports was a focus. And so when that fell through, I can tell so many different stories, but the one I'll go for with now is that I wanted to get away from like seeing my failure on TV, seeing people's jersey that weren't mine, and seeing, because I was and probably still am self-centered, and probably was a lot more then. So I just left. I took off to South America. And kind of congruent with this is my sophomore year of college. Right when I started to get injured, I ran with the Bulls in Spain. And that's when I found like this love for, it's not just adrenaline, because if I was just like that kind of addict, I'd be wingsuiter. But it was a type of immersive adrenaline. So like doing something crazy, but also in a different culture and immersively in like kind of becoming someone else that's doing something extreme. And, it's also the Red Bull era. And like, you see those videos on Instagram of like Russian guys getting close to the edge of buildings, like on their hands and stuff. And you're like, whoa, okay, I got to go big. So I took off to South America, and a lot of it was just, a young guy trying to survive on the road and, fight that reality that he didn't really have a job and having to go home and not wanting to rely on his parents. So staying out as long as I could and writing, really long 10,000 words for like $150, which is like 10,000 words is like 30 or 40 pages. Like that's some bad pay. And just surviving. And that was good, because part of me really wanted to survive and run away from my privilege, and just like, especially in athletics, people like, you can really get a rich kid rep. Not so much in lacrosse, because a lot of people are rich, but if you play football, American football, it's different. And I just didn't want to be that rich kid, bro, I can be poor too. Like that's the kind of way I thought, which is wild. So there was all these different factors going into travel, but mainly just to get away and explore and become a ski bum and figure out my life. And I had a few more adventures.
How long did you go to South America for?
It was like 5 months, close to 6. I don't know if it was into 5, before 5 or after 5, but I did 2 more things there. I call them projects because like they were this type of immersive, extreme thing. And as I did them, I kind of started to hone on this idea of like, I came back and I was like, this is what I want to do. But first I'm going to try sports again because my body feels good. And I beat my friend in a race one day, and I was like, oh, maybe I could do it. But then when that fell through after I tried at another school, I was like, okay, I'm going full-fledged into this immersive concept of crazy adventuring and writing about, becoming extreme professions.
Yeah.
And
so in South America, the 2 projects you did, what were they?
I was running with the Bulls was in school sophomore year. Then the next summer I went away and I started like, I got to do one project here. I did scuba diving in Belize, and I did it in a way that was really Red Bully and dumb, and kind of like grew to be like liking the concept of how little can I train for something that's extreme, and and how, because I guess I like the thrill of just having to fire on all cylinders and having to learn whatever you have to learn really quickly. You gotta give the crazy eyes for that. But it was when I went to South America, I managed to go this backcountry couloir, and they say it's one of the world's biggest or something. I can flaunt that. It's definitely not one of the world's hardest. It's crazy to get to. You have to do
what is it?
It's like a skiing couloir, like backcountry,
okay. Like a run.
Or a shoot. Yeah, a couloir is like one of those really skinny, like typical things you would see in a movie of people skiing.
Okay, got you.
It's like a small gully down a mountain. And this backcountry means you have to, backcountry technically means it's like nowhere near a lift or a ski mountain. This was side country, so you go off the lift and get there. But it was kind of dangerous. You're supposed to have an ice axe and avalanche gear, and I bought the ice axe, crampons, but it was my first time, and I didn't have avalanche gear. It was a whole thing. But I was like, damn, that was dope. And I did it with a fellow Chilean. It was in Chile. And then I was like, that's dope. That's cool. And then I eventually managed to live at the edge of a favela in Brazil, which is like a ghetto or a slum. And it wasn't in it, though. I sometimes say that, but it was like on the edge. And that's when you get thrown in. And it's not so much the danger of climbing a mountain, but now skiing, it's like, I have to learn a language really quickly to communicate. And I like,
Yeah.
now I'm seeing the cultural like difference of being in such a poor area, a more impoverished area. And like, just, what can you learn? What's different? Part of me really wanted to end up in a really screwed up situation. Like I wanted to fall off a mountain and be having to survive with wolves. I would dream of that. Or I wanted to like prison break, end up in a prison and like have to speak Spanish. And then it gets dark. Like all of my friends die because I can't speak being Spanish or something. This is dark dreams. But
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I wanted the story.
Yeah. How long did you live on the edge of the favela, by the way?
It was like, I think it was only 8 days.
Yeah. But what was that like? That must have been wild.
Oh, it was wild. I mean, I was coming back from an island where I'd been for a month, and that's another story. But I didn't know where I was. I was like, where's Rio? And a woman told me Rio, like, you're in Rio. Rio is a region of Brazil, not a city. It's not a city. Right. I didn't know that. And I was like, my Brazilian Portuguese wasn't great, but she was like, follow me. All in fast Portuguese, and I followed her 1 bus and then 2 bus. It's like you can use Wi-Fi in my house to find a hostel or hotel. At this point, I had pulled the cord and I was going to leave in like 8 or 9 days. I think 8 days, and so I was like done. After 5 months being really poor, like I didn't have any clothes, I was worn down. I was like, okay, whatever. Like, yeah, that would help a lot. I'll find a hostel. And I got to her place, and it was behind a mall, down an alley, across from a caged dirt football arena, probably like 40 yards long with holes in it. And there was 3 steps up, and there was bars on the one window and no window, just bars. And you go in, and then it was 3 big bars on one wall that looked into the second room, in which there was nothing. There was nothing in this room. I mean, it was just a fan overhead. In the foyer and the entrance, there was a little table, and her son's girlfriend and son, and I introduced and walked into the empty room, and there was a couple more rooms of beds, and she just pointed to the corner and said, you can sleep there. And it was just in a room with nothing and sleeping on the floor. I think they gave me a couple blankets, and they did give me a couple. And you wake up, the mom would be rolling by, the mom who found me would be rolling by in her underwear early in the morning, yelling, and you're just completely immersed to someone else's life and home.
Wow. Yeah.
And we were jumping trains, like, and the train is already super poor, and it's just, she was kind of like the hub of the area. So a lot of people came by there to like, talk and eat food, or I don't even know. It was just really welcoming, and despite the lack of resources we would have in America, it was much more open in a lot more ways. And so I was like, oh, this is dope. And I found an ability like to learn a language super quickly. It's not that I can learn a language super quickly. I can just become like I can get like a marginal professional, like a low professional level very quickly. But I can't really do much better than that. Maybe in just some things that I love and I've practiced for a long time, but I can learn things very quickly, and then after that, I can't really exceed. So I just kind of focused in on that skill. Unless it's like I do like writing and stuff. But
how did that begin for languages? Just to quickly divert away from where we are, we'll come back to this point, the favela. But how did that happen? Like, because in the Porter, you speak Nepali. You just said you spoke Spanish before you even got to college, and how did you? Yeah, is it just something innate? Excuse the name pun there, innate. But is it just within you? You just have this ability, you're just born with it, or is there more to it?
Yeah, I don't think it's the languages. I think it's just like I have to have the motivation, and then I just really like immersing myself. And so when I went to Spain when I was younger, I guess I had a Spanish, like not like a house. Someone helped around the house, and she would sometimes speak Spanish when I was young, so maybe that helped ingrain it a bit. That's what my parents say, but not like a full-time nanny or anything. My parents were helping, which is okay. Some people do that too. I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But anyways, I went to Spain, and I just like I just wanted more authentic. Every experience is authentic, but I wanted more of wherever I was, that experience. And so when I went to Spain, I'd want to party with the Spaniards, and then you got to speak as much Spanish as you can. I didn't want to be near the other foreigners because at that time I just didn't want to. I wanted different, and the more language you learn, the more key you have, and so that's just how it came. And then you learn a couple languages. I don't know. They just kind of fall in. I just always view language as a key to the world. And if you learn language, you can meet more people, maybe enhance your chances of finding the right partner for you. And that was my theory. So
it's cool.
I don't know.
It's pretty spot on. I mean, there's definitely no harm that can come from learning more languages, and it definitely is going to open more doors and make things more accessible and make you more accessible to other people. But yeah, go back to the favela then and like take me forward from there. Like, what year was that you spent those 8 days around the favela, on the edge of the favela?
That was 2017.
Okay. So where did you go after that?
Then I went home, tried to play sports for a few months, and because I won that race down in South America with my friend, but I got injured really quickly on. I was set to play football. I dropped out, and it was like, okay, I'm launching this full idea. I got to make this my life, and I'll do something super crazy. Just go from the westernmost point of Asia to the easternmost point on a motorbike, and I'll try to make a film. And I tried to mobilize all these people, and in the end, just failed. Kickstarter failed, lost some money. I can never run a Kickstarter, but I was like, okay. I was living in DC because I had moved there to get visas for the countries you have to pass through, which I never did really. So that's probably on me. I didn't have the motivation. But I was like, what can I do? Not the motivation, I just didn't have the insight of how to do it. Or motivation, I don't know. But what can I do that I don't have enough money? Like I was working as a bartender in DC for a few months, which was great, and I made a lot of money, but very stressful, and I just felt like I wanted to do something else. I think it's better to say else than more right now. Like,
yeah.
Because sometimes maybe that's someone's calling. But I wanted to do something else. And so I was like, what can I do for the money I have? I can go to, like, what's crazy? And I don't know why. I just thought of James Bond and like those monasteries in the mountains and like just the fantastical idea of that. And I've heard of Noble Science, such a good Tibetan Buddhism class. I don't know how much I listened because Noble Science, I don't know if it's really a thing, but I thought it was. And I was like, yo, okay, I'm gonna learn Nepali. I'm gonna go to freaking Nepal, and I'm just gonna go into the mountains and like I'm just gonna speak Nepali and see if I can convince a monastery to let me stay there for 3 months, like 3 months, to speak to Noble Science. I started learning, and I was super motivated, like super motivated. And then I found out that this is not really the thing, But I'd already either bought my ticket or learned some of the language, and I found out there was like a course called Vipassana, which you can do in UK, you can do in America, you can do everywhere. But I was like, I convinced myself, whatever, I'll just do it in the most authentic place, which might even be India, but I did it in Nepal. At that point, I learned the language, and I was like, whatever, I'll go and I'll do that project, and I have some money, and maybe I'll try and ice climb, and then after I'll write, and I'll finally finish these books that I've been working on, and that's the plan. And so that's what I did. I obviously it wasn't as set in stone as the plan is, but I did the Vipassana, and then after I went trekking, and I was like, well, opportunity came up to do ice climbing, and I paid like no money and did this ice climbing thing. It's like a beginner mountain, and I was like settled down in this village afterwards, this city in the west of Nepal, which is paradisical, and I was like writing, and that was you didn't walk me through my whole life, but this is like that was where things changed. And yeah, then there was a whole lot of kind of craziness, but I don't know. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, man. I'm hanging on your every word here. I'm not okay. Like falling asleep or anything. I'm just intently listening.
All right. Yeah. I'll try and condense it. I went to Pokhara and moved into this apartment. Pokhara is the name of the city. And moved into this hotel, $6 a night, I believe. Beautiful view. Pokhara is now blossomed with tons and tons of more hotels. So I think the view is obscured, but at the time it wasn't. Beautiful view of a lake. There were like fellow hippies, fellow travelers around, and it was just a nice place to detox and write. And like, I was really confident, I was like, I was pretty confident. I just done all this stuff and I was writing and I knew what I was doing. And right next to me lives this guy who's really old. He told me he was 98. I thought he was 98. And he was not 98, but I thought he was. And he's a painter. He's a painter. And it turns out, as I've said to someone else before, paraphrasing, like, I knew myself and I knew how committed I was. And I met this guy and he was like very similar to me in his commitment. So I don't know painting, but he's very old and he expressed like that, he's a legit painter. And like this is his whole life. Like everything that matters. And I was like, bro, this guy's like, just picking up his energy. This guy's like Picasso of our generation. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Like what, like he kept showing me the way he talked about it, the way he handled himself regarding painting, his depth of knowledge. It was just like, okay. And he was super welcoming. Like I could write something and read it to him. And I was so comfortable doing that. And so we became really good friends. This young 22 or something year old and this really old guy. He would hate it if I said that. He heard that. but so we became really good friends, and that's important for later. At the time I was writing, and I kind of realized like no one's gonna buy my books because millennials don't read, and no one's gonna buy my books because like there's no reason to buy them. Like I'm not famous. There's no pull. Like I guess, yeah, you could write the book and spend years and years and doing that, but maybe I wanted more of an immediate payoff or to see it. And went home, did some crazy thing where I dressed up as a monk, which is very insensitive to local culture, but also weird to dress up as someone else and like experience what you feel in an airport. So probably insensitive of me, but I did learn. And then got home. Next project, boom, I'll become a stripper and become a cage dancer in Germany in an underground nightclub where I've heard they had sex there. That's the goal. Whipped myself into shape, partly because I wanted to see if I could even look really ripped. You always like hide these projects behind things you want to see if you could do. And moved to Spain. I don't know. That was close to Ibiza, so I'd been to Ibiza once. I figured I could start in Ibiza and then make my way to Germany or something. Got to Spain, got a job as a stripper, and got told many different things and never actually danced. But I practiced in my room the Channing Tatum moves, and while I was in Spain, I got a job guiding. I had applied to Nat Geo, and they offered me a job for a relative company. The point is, I took it because I figured I know what I want to do, and if I work for this company or a related company anyway, then I could pitch what I want to do, which is these crazy things. Worked for them. Now we're just bullet points. Worked for them. During that, worked a lot, discovered like, whoa, what would be crazy is if I became a porter on Mount Everest. Like, because we were talking with someone, they were high up in the almost government here, big NGO, and I thought that's a good idea. We could raise money. We could work with this NGO, and the pieces just started coming together. And I was like, okay, well, then, yeah, like, that should be filmed. That should be a filmed project. This would give me proof for the books that would sell. So I started drafting that. That ended. As I'm drafting it, moved to England where the painter lived with him. Got distracted. The director of Black Mirror was near him. He connected me with him. I started writing for the director of Black Mirror, thinking that if I sold a TV show to Hollywood through him, then I could get my own. That fell through. I was crazy, not fully crazy yet, but screwed up. And then I was like, whatever. At this point, I'm just going to launch my own thing. I'm not going to rely. I'm just going to do the movie and put everything I had into the movie. And then,
you did.
Ended up in Nepal. Everything fell through. and didn't have much money, but got a gift from my grandpa last minute, had raised a bit from my friends, very bit, just from 3 people who decided to give money. And like I said, everything fell through, but then we kind of rebuilt it here, and helped rebuild it in a few weeks, and then just didn't raise the money to summit Everest, which was my goal as a porter.
Okay, that was your goal. I was wondering about that as well.
Yeah. But I was like, I'm not leaving here. My parents are going to think I'm freaking out of my mind if I come back with nothing. Like, I got to do something. I'll just go to base camp. Like,
Yeah.
Whatever. I'll just do that. And, which ended up, that trip ended up just completely changing my whole life. And so, yeah, I mean, should I just keep rolling?
I mean, it's great so far. I mean, you've got us up to the beginning of your documentary. So that was like an insane, that was like a somewhere between detailed and summarized. Yeah. Like summary of your life up to now, I guess, which was awesome. I enjoyed that.
That was your question. That was your question.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, we stopped there. What, that was your question. What led to the porter?
So let's go for question 2. So tell me about Film in the Poor. But yeah, no, seriously, I mean, I've watched it a couple of times and it looks like, an unreal adventure experience, whichever word we're going to use. But like in so many ways, right? Like the physical toll it must have taken on you, the mental toll it must have taken on you. But then also like building these, it seems like you built some really cool relationships with some of the local guys, some of the porters there. And yeah, like what was your mentality going into it versus coming out of it? And like how different was it to your expectations and how did it change your life, I guess? So answer that however you want to answer that.
We'll see how long this one takes. Okay.
No time limit.
Yeah, you can edit it. That's your work. But I'll share it. I started the film, and my only thing, I was still very much fame oriented, and having written for the Black Mirror and been further consumed in that world, I had only become more fame oriented. My Instagram put out videos before I went were just like, if I can do it, you can too. And maybe that's good for someone, but that was where I stood, where I was thinking I wanted to be famous. And so how do I get famous? Well, I better do this as deep as I possibly can, like down to what kind of accessories do they have? We'll have the same accessories. Not going to wear sunblock. They don't wear sunblock. I'll drink tap because they drink tap. I'll wear the same. How many shirts? I'm not going to wear like Nike dry fit shirt because they might not have that. So I wear a cotton shirt for 23 days, no showers, like everything that they do, I'll do. And as I express it to someone, first of all, I've never made a movie either. Like I had no idea what I was doing for a movie. My dad had made some movies, so he had outfitted me with like, I had some hard drives. I had a GoPro. I had this camera, which I obviously didn't. He had taught me a little bit how to use a camera, but I didn't know, and I didn't really want to know. Someone else was going to shoot it. That was my theory, and no.
Did you have a cameraman with you? Did you have someone filming, camera person?
Camera woman who I wanted to come, probably was in love with, ended up not coming, which is probably my fault too, because I was bad communicating and probably self-centered and didn't deliver on what I promised as well. It wasn't the Everest summit, things changed, but just bad communication. It wasn't all me, probably Sharon, but not her fault. I don't know. Anyways, someone I met here a few days before I decided to shoot, cool. But I'd still never really ran a project, like this was money that people had given me that was on the line. So I had all this. It was only a few thousand that people had given me, but that's a lot, that's a lot of money that someone's given you to do something. And you've told the world you're going to do this. And making a film is super detailed. You have to know, especially like an adventure or expedition or a trek, 20 odd some days away from places where you can buy things that you'll need to buy, so you have to have what accessories are you going to bring? What's the cost budget of this? What can you bring? What can you not bring? What filters? What not filters? I don't even know about film. Well, what do you think? Okay, well, we'll go with that. Well, that's too expensive. Okay. At the same time, I'm preparing to dive fully into like pretty much method acting, So it goes on like that. And the hardest part for me is staying in the, it's not a role, but in, this job role at the same time while like making sure that the film is being carried out. Because I just met this guy, so I don't know how my trust levels were. Anyways, we did it. And as I explained to someone, what would you do if you followed is it your wife or girlfriend?
Mine, my girlfriend, my partner, or fiance, I guess, if you want to be technical about it. But yeah.
Well, what would you feel if you followed your? Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. A bit late, but it's fine.
That's okay. Well, you could have interviewed me earlier. No, but what would you feel if you like brush your teeth at the same time? Your fiance brushed your teeth. What would you feel if you put your shoes on at the same time? If you ate the same food at the same time? If you followed her and mimicked her for however many days, what would you feel? In theory, would you feel a percentage of what she feels? Maybe. I think so, because I came back after shooting this film. Twist of events happened and I could reroute my flight, and I was like, oh my god, I once wrote this thing when I was younger. I'd go straight from the Himalayas to the hills of Hollywood, so I'm going there. And went to Hollywood and tried to sell the film, and me as this series gallivanting person and saying I'm just George Plimpton and Anthony Bourdain and this Nellie Bly combo, and just tried to sell it there, and at the same time my mind just started deteriorating, and wasn't really sure why. I left that out. I kind of took way too much weed. I didn't really smoke, and I ingested way too much weed right before the film and had like a really bad trip. And I'm not really a drunk guy, so a bad trip was really bad. And I'm really sensitive and maybe weak in many ways, so it really screwed me up. And that stuff started to come back. And I was just so convinced that if I tried to do this, like no amount of pain could screw me up, no amount of, I could just separate myself from everything. But I was separating from life.
Yeah.
So, I was reaching the point I was closing my eyes. I just wrote this because I'm writing it all up. I closed my eyes on an airplane and like would float away. Like not like I'm choosing to float away. Like I literally feel like which is a terrible, terrible feeling. It's really scary. I was looking at things and thinking the simulation stuff where everything's in my head and in my hand, and it was only getting worse and worse. But I was still trying to sell in Hollywood. And it came to a point where I needed to have a trailer for this company, which was Spyglass, which was like incredible, because I kept getting great meetings. So it kept fueling my ego, and or not ego, just kept fueling me. And I don't know if I really believe in the ego thing, but maybe. But anyways, I had to cut a trailer, and it was either stay there in LA and work with someone who's my dad's friend, which I didn't want to use my family at all, but that was the only option I had, or go home and work on my dad's editing computer, which again, I didn't want to use my family at all. Like I hated my privilege. I hated everything about it. I didn't want their help at all, but I was fucked up. That's the only right word. And I went home. And so obviously I didn't tell anyone I was screwed up. I just got to editing. I didn't know how to edit. So my dad taught me, how to upload the footage and what buttons to press. And then I said, I need your help. And I kicked him out. And then I got controlling and spent the next 6, 7 months, 8 months, maybe just editing. My parents moved from there to Atlanta. I followed them because I, had no money. I ran out of all of it in LA, where I had started moving for the stars like Kardashians, and I was a furniture mover. Ellen DeGeneres. I was moving furniture house. I was thinking like
you actually moved her furniture, or?
And Ellen DeGeneres, yeah, and Kardashians. I was in their house. I was gonna plant a note saying like, I have like, trust me, I have a story for your show. But I didn't. I thought that would be too much, so I didn't. And then that place burned down actually, and then not her house, the moving place. I think he rebuilt it. I don't know if he rebuilt it. But then I was also crazy, so I left. really dark times. I mean, I'm isolated editing in a room, not knowing how to edit. I'm stressed. I have no other way out. I have this footage that I don't know what to do with, but I have to make it because no one's gonna make it, you know. But I'm still believing that if I cut this trailer, maybe Hollywood will bite. For months, I'm believing that. And I'm so committed. I'm so committed to my shit. Like, um, it's too much. And I was alone for most of that time, living with my parents, which obviously makes you feel like fucking shit, especially in America. I mean, it's okay, and it should be okay, but in America, it's not accepted, and it's changing. But uh, I wasn't just living with them; I was dependent, you know. So, which is just every time it's just a knife in the heart. It's like I feel I'm failing. I'm not providing for myself. I'm a friggin' adult, and made the film. Made two different films, and then it wasn't until the second film that I was like realized what I had, and started to shift from like the making a highlight tape of me speaking, maybe putting a video of my shirt off, to like to realizing, fuck, this is the story of someone else's life. I'm white, they're from a different country. I'm American, they're from a different country. What about imperialism? What about, holy fuck, what did I step myself into? I don't want to make this movie. I don't want to make this movie. I don't want to, what did I do? What did I do? I shouldn't even have fucking gone there, but I did. And if I don't share this footage, I mean, there was one fact that we made $15 at the high camp and our costs were 20. And that one fact of making less than you're spending was like, that needs to be shared. And I have the footage, but all the footage is about me. and fuck, what do I do? So I dove deep into like empathy, which I'd never known. And I consider myself not really emotional, but that I can like, I experience them. I can choose to experience them. I don't know. I'm kind of like cold naturally, but I was like, fuck, bro, they're going to see this. They're going to see this movie. Like, this is their movie. Like, this has to be for them. This is their story. I mean, it's my story, but I was living their life. So this is their life. Yeah. So it should be as accurate to that as possible. And everything, like, I shouldn't even be talking about I don't know shit about their fucking life. I only did it for a few days, 23 days or 11 days on an expedition. Like, god damn. So I got further and further and further and further. And we try to film with narration. I got further and further away from any interjection of my personality, to the point where like, I was just cutting every possible part of myself out as I could without hurting the story. Probably too much. And that's why it starts without any introduction as to who I am in my past. And that's why it just cuts off, because I didn't even want to have a final word of like, this is the issue, or, like, who the fuck am I to say? Like, and then I made the movie, released it, found out that 3 months prior to filming, there was a government bill passed that said the workers get $20. We got 15, other workers got less. So now I realized that this government bill isn't followed, and my company can be screwed because they were paying less. And I'm like, wait, no, that's not right. They were the only ones who went on a limb to protect me. So I'm going to email others. Now I find out it's a giant issue. There's like, no one's following this rule.
Yeah.
And, your first idea is to cast blame upon others. And, and I did that for a bit, and nothing happened. Nothing was growing, nothing was changing. And as I'm marketing the film, because I have to, because my whole life's in it. It's my only ticket towards any career. I'm caught between like super conflicting ideologies. So one time I'm getting like thousands of views overnight, and I'm like, God, that's freaking dope. I'm gonna be famous. I'm freaking dope. Like, I'm freaking running around like a madman. Like, I'm getting so much energy from this that I have to just run. Because I'm also been isolated for so long. My mental, I've been fighting through this bad mental stuff. Like, who knows how stable I am? And I'm feeling the energy every time someone sees it. And then it dies down and no one's watching it. And I'm like, I just give up. And then I'm like, fuck, if I give up, no one's going to see this. And then kicks in the empathy of like, nothing's going to change. So I'm battling between being like a fame seeker and making money
and trying to change the world.
Yeah. And not even trying to change it, just feeling guilt. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it gets to the point where, I don't know, the film gets quite big. I don't want to accept any money. I realize that the tourists are half the issue. You know, I start to realize it more on a bird's eye view, like, oh shit, tourism is not up to countries to regulate, because tourism comes from external systems. So no matter what regulations, not no matter what, but regulations make in a country can be subverted by the tourists who come in any tourism-based industry, because they make the prices ultimately. I mean, if I'm a tourist, I'm like, I want to pay this, you know. They don't make the price, but they're half responsible, you know. Yeah, so that's why I was realizing, like, yo, everyone's responsible. It's not just these people or those people. And part of me wanted to reveal all the information I learned, like, about how there's really bad shit. And then I did research and I found out the people I worked with, the ethnic group, they were once slaves, like legally enslaved people. And that one of the legally enslavable jobs was that of a porter, and that mountaineers didn't even know this. And their porters were likely either still enslaved or recently off of slavery, but still in the slave system, kind of like in America. And I was like, yo, I need to get this out there. But I couldn't. So I wrote that. I couldn't get it out. I wrote that. I couldn't get it out. At the same time, I had emailed everyone in this marketing thing, and the UIAA, the International Climbing and Mountaineering Federation, was one group. And they said, like, they got back to me. And I was like, whoa, that's a pretty crazy email. I was just emailing everyone, you know, when I ran a marketing campaign. But they got back and I was like, who's that? Oh, wow. That's cool. You know, I'm not a climber. And they're like, hey, we want to support this. I was like, that's dope. And they're like, oh, we need Nepal's approval. Because they're like the United Nations of climbing and mountaineering. You know, there's all these countries have different associations or federations, and they report to this governing body. And, or not governing, but kind of. And I was like, that's dope. Nepal agreed. And they're like, hey, we want to accept donations. And then I'm like, we can't do that. Because part of the reason why I didn't really want to make money, I felt really guilty, is because, like, I'm making money off these people's backs. Like that's bad. But who can I give money to? If I just give money to the 2 workers I worked with, what about all the other workers? And if I just build one school, what about all the other schools? Which sounds like I'm such a good guy, but it was just because I was caught in this, like, you know, just because of the age I'm born in. We're super focused on rewriting imperialism and fixing it. And so I was aware. And they said donation. I was like, we can't. There's no way to give them. We have to fix the system. And I was having all these calls, and I thought, you know, some guy suggested a certification system. And I was like, wow, that would be it. And then we could make a fund, and the fund could lead to directly improving their welfare. And a lot of conversations later, they decided to launch what we call the Mountain Worker Initiative. And the idea was to make ethical guidelines in countries. And then I kept saying to certify companies that meet this. That was never fully agreed, you know, but that's my goal. Mm-hmm. And so we launched it. Nothing happened. I was really unstable and, like, was questioning I was questioning everything. I was questioning my sexuality. I was questioning I was just all over the place. And I had a call with this guy, Conrad Anker, who's a really famous mountaineer. And
I know of Conrad.
I'm not a mountaineer, but goddamn, I was geeking out. I got his call. I was in the shower, like freaking shaking. I was like, yo, this guy's like Tom Brady, you know, the Lionel Messi of this sport. Like, damn. And I had a call. I was like, hello, you know, okay, what I was like, really chill answers. And we talked for 45 minutes. And after the call, I was like, damn, Conrad is putting in his life adventuring. Like, I'm just sitting here doing nothing. I haven't done an adventure in 2.5 years. Like, I'm falling behind. I'm falling behind my adventuring. I'm falling behind. So I packed everything in a car and took off. And it's important here to note, like, I was not a filmmaker. And I made this film based off of following that emotion. Remember when I said, what would you feel if you followed your girlfriend? No, I'm not remember. I'm like, it's a test.
I remember.
No, but the test. I've been testing. No, I'm just kidding. But I said that because when I came home to cut the film, I'm not a filmmaker, but I could do it because I had this feeling. And I didn't know what the feeling was, but I just like honed in on that feeling and was like, if I cut it here, does that feel good? No, that is not in line with the feeling. Okay, whatever. And I just thought that's how I cut it. And I had gotten like artistic visions, and that was crazy, you know? And when I got in this car, I was so lost in my life, questioning everything, sexuality, everything. I was like, I'm just gonna follow this feeling. This feeling is like it. I'm just gonna follow this feeling. And like I got so nuts that I was like following the feeling down to the street turn. You know, like should I go down this street? I don't know. I'll go down this street. And how long should I drive for? But I should go down this street. And I gotta to the point where it was like I had obsessed so much about the film, about every phrase, because I had put so much pressure on these people. I put the pressure of their issue on me. That I had obsessed so much with the film that it carried over, and I was still obsessing with everything now. And then I started to obsess on this feeling, and should I follow it here, should it there, and to the point where I was like, I should stop, I should go on, I should film that, I should go on, I should stop, and then I flipped my car, and car landed, and did a flip like a top,
like a few rolls.
No, just like
just a 180.
360.
Okay. Oh, back on your wheels.
Back on my wheels, pickup truck.
Oh, okay.
Listen to my friend's music. Fucking music's still playing when we land. I'm fucking shut the music off. I'm fine. I get out. My mind is like gone. It's not. It's like floating. And someone picks me up, and I had been going down south to Mexico. I was going to go and just like whatever, live there and write. I just needed a rest. But I had turned around because I had done woofing, and I was like, I should help this person. It sounds like they need some help. And that's when I flipped my car, and it was close to the farming place. So I got a ride to a Walmart, and then they came and picked me up. I stayed there for a few days, and I felt like I was in a fog for a while. And then I got a rental car, and I didn't know what to do. So I went to, I like hunkered down in South Texas. And there's a lot more to the story too, but I hunkered down in South Texas and just like was sat by myself and was writing and overworking and writing. And in my mind, I just need to get off everything that happened in the last 2 years to explain my mind to someone, you know, to get it off my chest, because I'm fucking drowning here.
Yeah.
But I like got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna sit down and like I felt like I was changing every second. I got to the point where I sat at the edge of my bed and I was like, I'm gonna find out what the Buddha found out right now. And I'm thinking as I'm doing it, as I'm like, wow, this is where they're gonna say like I'm the Buddha, you know, like I'm on one. And I decided to come home, and then from there shit gets just absolutely wild. I just started to see signs and everything and visions and fucking thinking I'm reincarnated. That's a whole other story. But I started voicing more to my parents. You know, if they asked if I had violent thoughts, I was like, yeah, like, no, I was finally like, I'm telling fucking, you know, I'm worried about my sexuality. Yes, I have violent thoughts. Like I'm coming clean. And the more I came clean and started digging at my past, the more this like energy started to consume me until like I wasn't sleeping. I was just like vibrating in bed. I was starting to break down boundaries of like everything. I almost saw like a grid in the sky. Like it was like an acid trip, but I wasn't on acid.
Yeah.
And I've never done acid. And then went to the hospital for like, I was scaring my parents, and I was so possessed with energy that I was like, I don't want to lose control, you know? And I thought I was just like a vessel for God or whatever. But I like also the devil. I thought I was the devil, and that we need to love the devil. Like I was like, this is my message. Like I'm the devil, and the devil loves too. Like that was my
Whoa.
message, and
Yeah.
I'm here to share that. And fucking, it was a lot, bro. I thought I was gonna have an extra. Anyways, went to the hospital, spent a while there, came back, had really dark thoughts and impulses, and went to another place because these were like really bad impulses and a desire to do the really bad thing. And but I'd been brought up to tell you that's not what you should do,
Yeah.
even though you want to, I shouldn't. And so went to a couple more hospitals, got out. By the third, I don't know if it was fourth, three. It was like 4 or 5 months. And that's it was just shit wild. The first one was just like felt biblical or something. But
Yeah.
by the end of the third one, I got out. I had just like been I'd lost complete trust in myself. Everything I'd experienced, I was told was a lie or this or that, and I just was completely fucked. Like my confidence, everything needed stability. Emailed the UIAA, asked if they had any work.
Mm.
Someone was pregnant. Um, I could take her job for a few months, and so I took her job and got a film tour in Europe. Like someone asked to fly me out to show my film, not a tour, just a screening. It was near Switzerland where the UIA was headquartered. So I stopped by there. And the night before I got there, they're like, hey, we already know what we want you to do. We want you to do her work, but we also want you to like lead this mountain worker initiative. I'm like, what? Like, that's what I always wanted to do. But now I get like, I can do it for real. Like, maybe make a living. And so fast forward a couple months later, I just left for Nepal. I was like, I'm doing this. And, part of this has been like trying to just regain stability, like getting out of the places that were making me feel these really bad things and thoughts, and just trying to regain any semblance of what I used to be. And so coming to Nepal was like, whatever, like, it's hard, but it might make me feel better. And I came, and then, bro, now I'm like, I think I'll always struggle. And once you go off the rails, I think there's always a cloud there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just confident to like, I had a lot of ideas and things I wanted to do, and they're coming together more so now. And I have to get a better grip. Like I like to live on the edge of creation and innovation, but I can't be consumed by things so much. But anyways, I'm here in Nepal, and I've been here for a month and a half, and we've made a lot of progress, and things are really coming together. And it's like getting all these ideas of what to build and how to actually help, and it's actually like happening. And
Wow.
so we've almost finished the trekking guidelines. Mountaineering has never really been made because there's two industries. So we're going to try and make those. And then I'm like, we need a database. So we're going to try and make an app and a whole thing that would basically be like a LinkedIn, IMDb, Yelp type system for all mountain workers around the world. And we establish it here in Nepal first. And with that going, like I still have dreams for my own company. I want to create like a community where ideally it has enough money where if you come to me with an idea, I can fund it completely. And in the end, you take 50%, I take 50, not me, but the community. And that pool then funds more artists, and providing a safe space for artists to create what they can create and not go through the marketing and shit I had to eventually make a community that can distribute and do all that for people. And if I can succeed with all this other stuff, like I don't really want to help people, but I want to push boundaries. I want to experiment with quantum. I want to experiment with all this fun stuff, but uh, to do so, it's a lot easier if you help people. It's a lot easier to help people. So I don't know. That's kind of a rundown of what I'm doing. So that's what these things by car. This is like, this one is the storyboard for the app.
Okay.
So you have to make like every screen, and I don't have every screen, but it's a lot of the screens. This middle one is the storyboard for the initiative. So like we're in Nepal. Here's the idea to do the certification system, who to establish to run it, and then also making the app at the same time, and then how to shuffle money through, and then other countries you go to with it. You know, like you have to expand to 7 summits, and then, you know, Pakistan, Tanzania, or Argentina, Peru. And then this one is the community.
Yeah.
What I want to build. And that's, I put it in pink. Yeah. Not only my business, but a business, that everyone can be a part of. Like what, like, I don't understand that. That just doesn't understand. Like if you're a human being, why are we not working towards the same goal?
Yeah. No, I agree.
You know, like, I just don't understand that.
Because people want to get rich, right? Because people want to get rich over, a lot of people want to do that over other stuff, unfortunately. But that's why we need more people coming up with initiatives like that and like putting them into place like you're doing, and trying to push for that. Because you're right, when you step back and look at it, it makes way more sense, right? Whoa.
Yeah, we're not going to, like, maybe it's because I came from this wealth, and which wasn't extreme wealth, but I just like, yeah, money would be dope, but like, what's money dope for? To do things. And I need a ton of money to see the innovations I want to see. It's not even I need it. I mean, I need to give to other people, or we need it. And also, like, bro, I don't know. If we don't fix the earth, we're kind of screwed. But
very much so.
Maybe that's fun too. Remember, I had some of those impulses, so who knows?
But yeah, are you feeling better now though? Are you feeling good now? I mean, you seem like you are, and obviously you've got this thing that you're focused on now, the Mountain Worker Initiative and the other stuff connected to it. So are you feeling good? Are you feeling better?
Yeah, I mean, I still battle a bit. I still have bad impulses and some bad thoughts. And I still test myself with bad thoughts, which is really how you get there, how I got there. Mm-hmm. But I'm a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's good.
I'm a lot better. I was like breaking down uncontrollably, crying, and like unable to articulate it. And so I just couldn't express what I was experiencing in the world.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're feeling better, man. I'm so glad you're like getting stuff going now and like making all this happen. That's awesome that it all came together with the that company, that climbing organization that you reached out to. It's just a lot. I mean, that was an insane answer to the second question of this interview. Like, that's so much to unpack. I mean, it's great. I mean, great stuff. But like, where do we even begin with that to unpack that for a minute? And again, I don't want to take too long with it, but there's a lot. So first of all, let's jump into you mentioned that for a while you thought you were reincarnated. Do you still think that? Yeah.
What I think is that the West and East need to come together on things, because the West will just tell you you're crazy or have this disease or that disease. And the East might actually entertain the thought that what you're experiencing is spiritual and real. And not even East and West, just the two modes of thought, right? Sometimes I don't like saying East and West because it's like, well, they're all the same. But
yeah, and some people in the East would think the opposite. Yeah. Some people in the West would think, So I agree.
So I just like, there's two modes of thoughts, and I don't know what's true. Maybe it's both. You know, maybe there was a lot of delusion, but maybe there was a lot of like seeing behind the curtain a little bit, and maybe that's why you're losing your mind, because you're not really here anymore. And the thing is I still remember a lot of what I've experienced. So like, one of my goals will be to just see if what I experienced is real and try to elucidate it and break down that stuff. Because do I think I'm reincarnated? Like, I think it's a yes and no. You know, I think it's like perhaps the people who I think I'm reincarnated from live on in me, you know, and perhaps they are in me, but I'm not them.
Yeah.
Like I'm free to make my decisions, and I could be a continuation of them. So maybe that's what reincarnation is. I finally go there,
Maybe
but
that's like a kind of like a spiritual passing down of genes, like a, like
yeah,
a,
like a
like that
continue,
kind of thing.
which maybe,
I
I
mean, who's
honestly
to
think,
say?
yeah, I
It would be
think, yeah,
hard to disprove that. You think, yeah. Do you have
yeah,
any
just because the
memories of
events in my
like,
life, bro, the events in my life are freaking insane. Like it just doesn't, it's almost it lines up too well to not be like, okay,
do you have any past life memories or anything like that?
No, I mean, I don't think I do. I have I've always had like a vision of like a partner I want to be with. It's quite weird. Like, and it's like I want to be open. Maybe I could be with anyone, but I have this vision of like the person, and maybe that's from past life. I don't know. I know that
Yeah.
this woman who I met for like 2 hours, um, I became so obsessed with, deadly obsessed, and like crazy obsessed. That was like, and uh, I I think I'm a writer. Like writing is what I think I offer. That's what I really need to offer to this world. Like my story. I mean, this will help, but the writing is most important, maybe for me. So then you affiliate yourself with past writers, like Hemingway, and someone recommended like Jack Kerouac, and I would never want to read his books because his style was so similar to mine. But when I was going nuts, I Googled how did Jack Kerouac die, and because I was like, I don't want to die, like because when I was going nuts, I was like, the writers were starting to come to me in my sleep, and I was getting like book title. It was like, it was a lot, and I was
Mm.
like, bro, I don't want to fuck up like they fucked up, like because it's a similar life to the Hemingway in that, and so I saw it was like the woman who died at the when Jack Kerouac died, the woman at his bedside was the same name of the woman who I met and fell madly in love with, like an instant. And I was like, oh, he died at the age, which is the same number I used, and he had the same like heartburn that I had. It could just be crap, but it was too much. It was too much, and
Yeah.
to be so similar in writing, and it's like, okay, well, maybe we just have similar experiences through life, and we're similar people, or maybe there's something else. I don't know. It'd be cool to eventually figure out if we can figure this shit out instead of just perpetually saying, putting it up to the ether. Like,
Mm.
Can we start to freaking figure out how to measure this shit and define it and like
I
figure
think
out?
to do that, I think people need to actually be able to be more accepting of things like that, right? Like you said, like the kind of the East West, the two modes of thinking, like in the Western world, and again, we're kind of generalizing a little bit because not everybody, but most people in the Western world at the moment, yeah, like anything like that, I think it's like, oh, okay, so you're talking bullshit, carry on. Um, just an immediate like defenses, the walls come up, and it's kind of the same with like a lot of different things, like like anything to do with life after death. UFOs are still a bit like that, like the kind of taboo stuff, and there's different, it can be with dreams and things to do with dreams and how they can connect to the waking life. And I've had a few people on the podcast to talk about kind of a few more subjects a bit more like that, but I definitely think we've got a way to go with like being more open about it. That's all it needs to be. You don't need to be like saying like, oh yeah, I believe in everything that's weird, I believe in it. No, it's
Oh
just
no.
you have to be open to stuff, right? You have to look at stuff through different lenses, and we don't live in like a world that's just, we haven't, our parents weren't born with suits on and working in offices. Like we've constructed this world on top of a planet that was already here. Like we were already a civilization before that. I think there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on that we don't know about. I don't know
But
exactly what is true and what's not, but I think there's much weirder stuff than we realize.
right. The thing is, though, it's not just looking at a different perspective. It's bridging the two.
Yeah,
Like what is it that the America and Europe needs? They need measurements. That's what they go off of. And yeah, there
yeah.
of course there are measurements in spirituality in countries out here, but like they need their type of measurements. And it's like, well, maybe we can figure out how to give those type of measurements to the spiritual realm, and maybe like, which ultimately, honestly, I think that's the big thing of us is like that's
Yeah.
quantum stuff, and that's like
I think it will start to happen more. I do think it will start to happen more. Like there have been some really interesting studies. If you like start to look into this, like back in time, a while ago, there was like studies, and there maybe have been more, but there's one that I know of. There were some studies into like the effect of prayer, and like like with control groups and things like that, and like
like in cities, they did one where they prayed for like a city in a different continent. And like the really? Crime levels or something reduced. At least I saw a study. I don't know if it's real. But.
Yeah. No, the one I heard about was this like really, really clever lady. I heard about it through this guy called Dr. John Mack. He was a Harvard psychiatrist, and I know him through one of my former guests, Ralph Blumenthal. It's a bit of like a rabbit hole. But anyway, she was super clever, and she worked with these people suffering from a specific type of cancer. And I think she did prayer like studies on the side of that, but then also she developed this kind of cancer and was allegedly communicating with her husband after she died, all sorts of weird stuff. But I think it needs to become more looked at in science. Do you know, have you ever heard of Bob Bigelow?
No. I should look into other people more.
Start with this guy. Check out this guy. He's an American aerospace billionaire. And he has major interest in, topics like life after death, like what happens, consciousness, what happens to the consciousness after death? Is there more than just this? And he actually funds it. He funds research with significant money. He looks into it. He's looking into UFOs and that kind of stuff. And there are people doing it. So I think it's going to become more and more looked into. I mean, it has to, right?
That is like the goal, the last Post-it note. Right there. I guess that's his house of creativity. That's not the last one. But the idea is like the biggest issues plaguing our Earth, not just the global warming and the quantum realm and like those level of issues. Like, why do we not have the 10 or 20 or X amount of this level thinking? It's not like they're more intelligent. This is how they think. This is the level they think on. Why are they not in the same room? Why are they not funded to just think about creative solutions? Like, how do we make that community and company or pool of money that can like get to the level where we can like do that, or we can fund people who this is what they want to think of and they can understand it and they can work together in a diverse way. And that's what I want to get to the point of, is like that would be the goal. I mean, right now, unless things change, but that would be like, that would be cool as hell, and I mean, that would be cool.
That would be very cool. I'll be rooting for you to do that at some point. That would be.
Well, it's gotta be. It would have to be us. It's not. It wouldn't be like a. You gotta keep saying us, because if I get too inflated, I go.
Okay, I can't wait to see that happen. But let's jump back to the doc before we wrap things up.
My bad.
No. This is super interesting, man. I love it. Just tell me like a couple of kind of quick fire things, a bit more like I want to say lighthearted, but some of them won't be lighthearted. But what was the kind of best food, weirdest food you had over there, or anywhere, I guess, because you've been a lot of places. So like some of your weirdest foods and drinks and things like that.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I have a lot of people who travel a lot more than me. I mean, the weirdest, dal bhat is rice and lentils, and it's eaten rice and lentils, and it comes with vegetables as well. And that's eaten mostly here in Nepal as a staple food because it's affordable and there's a lot you can eat. That's usually what you eat when you're working as a porter. I mean, people got crazier things. I mean, I've eaten some weird stuff.
Do you like it? Is it good, dal bhat?
Dal bhat, I mean, it's growing on me. It's growing on me. But I don't.
You checking around to see if there's anybody that's going to be upset?
I have a friend here. I didn't want to. Yeah, I don't love dal bhat. But maybe. I mean, with good chicken curry. Yeah, I don't even know what curry is, and I've eaten it so many times. Like, I don't know if it's a seasoning or if it's like when it's got. I don't know. I never know.
I think it's just the spices, like the spices. But what do I know either? I'm not going to profess I know that for certain. I can make a curry, but I mean, I'm not going to go into the definition of curry.
Making. I'm just
So what about like the hardest experience? Again, I'm talking about the documentary reporter, but you can draw on other occasions if you want to. But yeah, what was like maybe one experience during that or anything else where you were like, fuck, this is hard?
I mean, the whole mental escapade is a lot, but honestly,
Yeah.
physical's a lot. And when I climbed a mountain, an ice climb, I misunderstood the guide, and I thought he was bringing extra water. So I drank my water and moved really quickly to keep pace. Drank my water in an hour, and it was like a 10 or 11 or plus hour day. And so I didn't have any water after an hour. And luckily, I'd read this book about a survivor, this fictional book about some guy in the tundra surviving without water. But that was, that was like I was dead. That was so hard. Like my bowels stopped working at like 6,000 meters, and
Jeez.
that's 2,000 meters less, more than Everest, 2,000 meters less plus. And I was still struggling. The oxygen was getting to me. I had no water. That day was so freaking hard. Yeah, I got to the bottom. When we got down, I had like go in the bathroom. I was like peeing on myself. I didn't give a fuck. I was like, whatever. It's just
Sweetest relief ever.
yeah. I didn't even. I mean, I pulled down my pants, but I just like I'm gonna pee on my clothes. Yeah, that was really like ice climbing is dope because you go at night and it's the stars and you're on a glacier and you feel like James Bond. Another reference, but at the same time, God, it was so cold. It was so hard. Your stomach stops working. I'm not really a mountaineer.
Yeah, fair enough. What about the 100-kilo bag or 100-kilo six bags? How hard was that? That looked hard. And you like cut up your head as well, like you were bleeding. Was it just from friction?
That was from that was like I don't think it was holy, but it was a festival or holiday where they put some. Yeah, it looks good though. It looks good.
It did look good. You had me.
No, it wasn't that. But that wasn't that. I mean, yeah, it was wicked hard, but like, you know, you're gonna do it. I mean, you're in a safe place. Like, you have support around you. You've invested so much that you have to do this as well. Like, the second you pick that up and carry it, you don't want to be rude. You gotta finish it. And yeah, it's extreme pain, but it's not like your bones getting chopped in half. It's like an extreme ache, and it's like you can kind of separate yourself a bit from it mentally. And I cried at the end there, not so much from the weight, but from at that point the 5 years of adventuring and trying to like have a career and nothing to show for it. And then
I could feel that, to be honest.
Having like video proof, and I was like, wow, I took all of that.
Yeah. And it's such a human moment, you know, when you've put so much into it, both physical and mental, and you've seen, you know, the struggle that these people that you're now friends with go through on like a daily basis, and you feeling all of that times all the other stuff as well that we haven't mentioned. And it just all of a sudden that load comes off your back in that like moment, and I bet that was raw emotion. I bet that felt like deep.
It felt like just like I can rest now.
Because that's what you were saying as you're like limping up to the building with this massive bag on your back. You're like, I'm gonna rest any minute now. I'm gonna rest. Where's the damn place?
But you could probably do that. I mean, most people would probably do that, and people probably do it better than me. I mean, most people here do it better.
The hardest thing is the fact you got it on your head. You're carrying it with your head, and like I'm just picturing having a headache. You know, like a migraine, a pounding headache.
At the beginning. The beginning, you do. But you get ergonomic about it, and like you got to just carry it in the right way. You don't want to bend your back. You don't want to lift your neck, or you got to move as one. And like, you figure it out.
Yeah, fair enough. What about the most memorable moment? Positive, negative, neutral, anything memorable moment? Again, it could be the Porter. It could be any of your other adventures. Just like what's a real memorable event or experience?
The memorable event is when I just had all that energy and I was like not sleeping and seeing things in a very divine light and even lost. That's the most memorable.
That's not.
But I don't know if you can really say most memorable. You know, like I mean, it's very vivid because it was kind of recent, but it's.
I get it. Most is a hard one to quantify. You'd have to sit down with a calculator, pen and paper, and
I don't even know if you can. I don't even know if it's possible. I guess they're all equal. Some things you don't remember as.
No, I completely.
I feel compelled more to tell that one, but I still remember the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, man. I mean, that pretty much answers the question. I mean, I've heard all your memorable moments now. Obviously, not all of them, but
My
wow,
whole life
like,
has been like
I mean,
over.
you told it so well. That was like, I was gripped. It was a real journey, a real trek.
A little roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah. It was awesome. Yeah, really, really fascinating, and I'm so glad that the Mountain Workers Initiative is working out.
Dude, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. Like, I just hope that continues to gain traction and people sharing it and all that. Obviously, I'm going to put links to that in the description here.
It's also just not. It's not, to me. It's not Everest and it's not mountain workers. It's like the first time tourism, which is a massive fucking facet of our world, is being. At least that, to my knowledge, trying to be built up in a sustainable way. Like, that's the point of this, is creating sustainability. And like, there's no sustainable practices so much for like parasailing and scuba diving and this and that. And yes, this is Everest, which is great for marquee, but it's not about mountaineering and trekking. It's about tourism. It's like it could be replicated for all of tourism.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I get big minded though. So
no, it's good. You got to be, man. You got to be. There's a lot of problems in the world, and the more we can solve, the better. Do you still want to climb Everest? Are you still going to try and do it at some point? Obviously, with no porters.
If someone paid for it, for sure.
Yeah. You'd have to do it with some of the other porters maybe that have never climbed it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. I'd do this one mountain called Ama de Blanc, which looks really cool. But I don't know. It's a little sketch, dude. It's a little sketch. There's like a knife edge and
yeah.
I don't know.
Once you go above 8,000, they're wild. Like,
dude, I was driving on I have a motorcycle here, which I got to look cool, and it's pretty cool. But I was driving like almost as fast as I could go, and I wasn't really getting the thrill that I maybe would have gotten from that stuff. Maybe I want to be alive more. Or in this form, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I used to not like have the fear of stuff, but now it's kind of good that I have that a little bit. Yeah, for me.
No, I know what you're saying. Like, if you look back to when I was a kid, I'd have no fear, and now you have fear because you're like, oh yeah, that could break my back. That's not good.
Like, what if a flat tire or you skid?
I think it's a pretty healthy mentality to have that creep in a little bit. You don't want too much of it because then you don't do anything, but you need some. Look, let's wrap it up by, if you've got any words or messages you want to send to anybody watching, listening, it can be literally anything. Doesn't have to be, inspirational, motivational. Doesn't have to be even good. It could be anything. Take it away.
Thank you for interviewing me. That's
my pleasure.
Thank you for wanting to share my story, and I wish I could ask you more questions, but it always turns into a me-sided thing. For other people, I mean, feel free to reach out if you ever want to help try and grow a community and just see how capability of how many, I guess, I don't know, how big of a community or something, then help. I mean, I welcome everyone. Like, I'd welcome everyone.
And if you want to reach out to Nate, links are in the description.
Oh, yeah,
go and watch The Porter as well. You need to watch The Porter. Link is in the description. Really good documentary. Really, really good documentary. And I think anybody that watches it is going to be, wanting to do what they can to help. Yeah. Thank you, Nate. This was awesome. A lot of fun.
Thanks, bro. Thank you.
Take care, buddy. Have a good one. Thank you for listening to that conversation with Nate Menninger. I hope you enjoyed it. Watch, like, and share The Porter via the link in the description, and check out our links there too. Be nice, be happy, be cool.